I went to a historically black college and university. Anybody familiar? All right, great. All right. I went to Central State University primarily because I am first generation college graduate. I didn't have the uh, the guidance from my parents to say what school to go to, right? Or this is a better school. I did not have that guidance. Even in high school, I went to a high school that you had to test into, but I was worried about talking to people about not having the resources to do something, so I didn't want to have that conversation with my counselor. So I really kind of navigated, fortunately or unfortunately, by myself. So first generation college graduate meant that I couldn't go to way to school to a foreign institution right away. I had to go to a 2-year institution first so I could save money and figure out financial aid. Well, first class I took was a class called exercise and jogging. Does that sound simple to you? I mean, I know I don't look like I'm physically fit, but exercise and jogging seems easy, right? I thought so. I took that in psychology. I'm like, these are the 2 classes I'm going to start off with. I'm going to take these classes, and then I'm going to transfer and go to the historically black college university. Figure it out. I'm going to figure this out. Well, I was in the class, exercise and jogging. I was the first black person here that they had in class. And we were all lined up in the gym. The instructor told us, I just need you to go run around the perimeter of the gym for the whole time that you're here in the class. And that's all you have to do. That sounds easy enough. It's tiring, but it sounds easy. Like there's no jump on hurdles or anything. Just run around with other exercises, just jogging. I could do that. So I did that. And as that teacher instructed us that every single time we came to class, they went into their office and closed the door. So essentially you could run around and like all of my white students in the class, they ran right out the door. But not Donna, because I was raised that I had to do the rules. I can't single myself out. I got to work harder than everyone else. And so I ran around till exhaustion. And I would go to my next class. Fast forward, we get our grades. Since it's all down there, and he yells our grades out. My last name. When he got to my name, Murray, everyone else said, Brown A, Murray D. I was like, maybe he was like D for now. Like, is he saying my initial? D. And then he went to the next person, A. So everyone essentially in the class who did not stay and run with got A's. And I got a D. Because I thought he made a mistake, but when he went to the next person. So after everyone's gone, I went to his office and I this is the story of how I went to it. I went into his office and I said, give me a D for John. I'm the only one, just so you know, who went through the whole gym and ran around the gym. And he's like, you shouldn't be here. Your kind shouldn't be here. And if this is how I can get you out of here, I'm giving you a D. Fail out of this. Community college. I'm like, well, maybe. However, I said to him, and this is what I'm negotiating. I said, well, guess what? You want me out of here, and I need an A. And he said, so what are you saying? I said, I am going to transfer to this black college university so I can be with my own kind. And I can't transfer with a D. I need the grade that I deserve, which is an A. He said, I won't give you an A, I'll give you a B. So I got a B in exercise and jogging. And I did everything in my power to go to a black college and university to keep my word to him, not just to him because I want to honor him. But it propelled me to get to a place where I could be where I was accepted. And when I got there to his black college and university, it was so affirming for me. It was like nothing else. I actually believed from that 4-year experience that I could fly. That's how I felt inside. And it erased all of the pain and things that I felt along my career path. And as a student, it erased all of that and it made me feel whole. But it also didn't do what I hoped it would have done, which was made me not be so high in productivity or high in accolades, high in achievement, results. That still drove me because that's how I was raised. So I ended up being in the nonprofit sector. And it was really one of those, a case of someone seeing me out in the community and seeing me at the bank and said, I think it's time for you to actually take your talents and skills to the nonprofit sector, which was wonderful. Well, one of the first things I have to admit, let me just say my choice for the nonprofit sector is that it felt like I was amongst a group of people that didn't know that they had power. And that felt coming from a place where I could fly to now saying people don't care about us, or we're working so hard and we're not getting what we should get, or the foundations don't understand us, and all kinds of language. And then even I almost, I was on a challenge, if you will, to reject the name nonprofit because names matter. And starting off with what you're not as an introduction, I'm nonprofit. Why does that matter? Maybe I'm for impact, or maybe I'm for something. Why do I have to stop with what I'm not? That was hard for me to understand why the name nonprofit. I get the status, but why are we describing ourselves by our tax status as opposed to all the great corporate power that we are, right? So I'll be honest with you, I like to dance that because every time I think about it, it just makes me sick because it's almost like the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy, the good witch tells her, you have the power all along. You just have to find that, right? That's how I feel about that. We have the power all along. And the thing about it is that we actually accept this framing that we're given, right? We're invisible, only 5.4%, even though they interact with us in some things, right? But then at the same time, it's we frame ourselves as quote unquote do-gooders. We accept that. And what it does is it actually diminishes us because here's the thing. When you are a person who is only doing, right? People don't think you're thinking, right? You just do things. And here's the beauty of the sector. Here's the power that I think that we actually have is that we are actually a sector that thinks. We are a think and do sector. We need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge that we hold both the content expertise and the context, right? So we know these things and we apply that. Not many sectors can do that. They actually know things, but they don't know how to do it. Or they do things, but they don't know why. We have both of those things. And do you agree with that? Like, do you think that, all right? I'm like, are you okay with that? So we should consider ourselves as brilliant. And I can tell you, 23 years at banking, which was a lovely career. I was first in senior management. I don't know, probably already said that. Right? First person in senior management, hold the vice president title over community development and also the foundation knowledge. Wonderful opportunity. But one of the things I noticed is that even with that, working with people that were making $1 million deals on a regular basis, no people that I've ever worked, and I am telling you this is my truth, so you can't dispute this is my truth, right? The nonprofit sector is the smartest people I've ever worked with my entire life. But we don't think, but we don't think it. And I mean, honestly, we are so brilliant, but we describe ourselves as backbone or doers and all these things that people really just put us in this box, in this container that is not accurate. And so I ask and I challenge you all to change your language about who you are, what you call yourself, what you connect yourself with is utterly important. So if you want to join me in reframe nonprofit sector to for-profit or social impact or whatever it is, do that because I tell you, even the words when you say it out of your mouth make you feel something. It's a different reaction in your body when you speak affirmatively about yourself. Try it sometimes. We got some affirmations, right, earlier. Try it sometimes. Speak that over your life. It's very important. The other thing that I wanted to not leave out about the power of the sector is we're the only sector that has what I call, and what it is a thing, it's called agape love. Are you familiar with agape love? It's a deep love. It's a brotherly love. It's like a sisterly love. It is a love that we have for humanity. We have that. We are driven in here by agape love. You can't say that about the private sector. They're not driven by that. We are the only ones. We are the greatest experiment of what it means to actually functionally love and support. And we actually can make the difference, all of us collectively, to be able to change the narrative about what it means to make a difference. It is about thinking, it's about doing, it's about love. It is about love. It's about agape love, deep love, and for one another that transcends anything really about differences. That doesn't matter. We understand, which I think is utterly important. So I want to go through some things that I learned about through the pandemic. So I didn't say this, but I live now from Detroit, Michigan. That's one thing. That's where I grew up all my life. And now I live in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, what's interesting about me going to Louisville, Kentucky, there's a lot of things to say. Let me say there's a lot of things about me going to Louisville, Kentucky, right? This is about me living in a city that was 86% Black and going to Louisville, Kentucky, which not so much. This is also about during the pandemic, there was this, talk about George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd. It's utterly important. We oftentimes forget that in February that Breonna Taylor was also. And why that's important to me, before I even moved to Louisville, I was connected. When she was killed, it could have been me. Like I felt like it literally could have been me, or it could have been my daughter at that time, who was just 26. It could have been her. And when I think about that, my heart just aches about being a Black woman at home. Her life was insignificant. It felt like that. And then fast forward, I find myself, ironically, incidentally, supposed to crime intervention, whatever the case may be, I'm in the same space. The first thing we did, my husband and I, when we moved there, is I wanted to go see her memorial. I wanted to understand her life. And by the way, her death really just got justice not too long ago. Like, I just want you to kind of think about that for a minute. And the police officer, at least one of them, who was convicted for her murder, actually got a job like another job at another police station, another police outfit. I just want you to see the dynamic there. Her mother is just saying she had a life, like say her name, like she's a human being. That really resonated with me. And so when I moved to Louisville, maybe I should backtrack and say why was I moved, because my husband's job transferred here. But the other thing is also that I was at Michigan Nonprofit Association and I resigned being president and CEO. Which, by the way, I was tired, so it was like a good thing. I need to resign here. He's moving, and I'm going to go. I will say this to you, if it is being recorded. My husband retired shortly after we got there, so wouldn't you be mad about that? I'm still processing that, but anyway, we live in Louisville. But right. So when I first got there for the few months I was there, I was a consultant. And so I really chose the things that I wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do was work with Black and brown, Black leaders and Black women. Well, I got an opportunity to work with Black leaders. And one of the things that was shocking is that when I brought them together, they shared with me that that was the first time they had ever been together in a room together. Because they felt after Breonna Taylor's death and all of the upfront, it's just a lot of societal issues that occurred from that. They didn't want to be seen together in one spot because it might mean something derogatory for them, for their funders, for people who cared about the work. They didn't want to do that. But that was real for them, right? And so we talked about that, and they felt like this was an opportunity to heal because they never had an opportunity to talk amongst each other in a group about it. They only felt comfortable going into like practice. They never felt that they never had the opportunity. So I brought that amazing to be able to facilitate. But that was also a perk going in it. And then I found myself being asked to come to the National Council of Nonprofits, which was wonderful. And I can talk about that offline right now. What I really want to talk about is when the pandemic hit. All the things that I knew to be true, working hard, productivity, being the first, all of those things kind of went up. One of those things was Breonna Taylor. The other thing was when George Floyd was murdered. That actually took my breath away, and I'm not saying that to capitalize on I cannot breathe. That's not what I'm saying. It literally just, it felt like the gym teacher who gave me the D. It felt like the staff that actually said that they were going to not work with me. And a multitude of other stories that I can share with you. All of that bubbled up, and I had been carrying that the whole time, and it was just like it erupted when George Floyd was killed. It erupted. And here's the thing. I was the president and CEO of an organization, the first Black woman, the only Black woman, and there was no other Black people with me. All of my team were white. And what happened in that moment was that we had a divergence of understanding of what that felt for them. For my team, it was, we're going to get cards and be members of the NAACP. That's great. That's great. Well, I'm already a member and I'm already Black. What am I going to do about this? That was the first moment that I felt my Blackness in a way that I had never felt before as a leader. What do I do? We actually did 2 statements. One from me and then one from the team. And it was a collective voice, but I needed to have my voice too because it was very different from me. But one of the things that really bothered me here was around that period of time was people who wanted to be first as well. Let me first put a statement. You all do that here in Washington? Who's going to put a statement? Who's going to have the most thoughtful statement about the reason why? Who's going to say that? It was a race to the top for a daggone statement about something like that. People felt good about having a statement. So for us, we paused, we reflected, and we put out 2 statements. But also, what it let me know is I was utterly alone, I felt, even alone with my team. And then 2, also, it was this sense of urgency for the nonprofits because people were wondering what they were going to do during the pandemic. A lot of them thought they had to close. It is the National Council of Nonprofits, I should add, that was the instrumental at the national federal level to put the word nonprofits in the CARES Act. So to get the PPP, you had to even be included. So National Council actually is the one who put nonprofits in the CARES Act, so you can even get the Paycheck Protection Fund, right? I want to say that. And $50 billion were unleashed into communities, as they should be through nonprofits to do that. But guess what? It wasn't that simple. And if you got the PPP, your bank wasn't even calling you back on the first tranche of funds on April 2nd. Only small businesses pretty much got that. Big businesses probably shouldn't have gotten it. They got that. But nonprofit organizations didn't really get money until the second and third tranche of funds, by the way. Okay? And as a former banker, for me, I set up shop in my house. And all of the organizations were calling me to ask me, how can I fill out this application? And anybody, if you want to put your hands up and say that you were part of the first person to try to apply for it, did you see that the application said who owns the organization? People didn't even know how to handle that, right? So I'm setting up shop and helping people figure out how to apply for monies that they actually deserve. So I am grateful that everyone, like the NAWA, as well as all the other state associations you saw on that map, actually helped nonprofits to do it. But what it made me understand is that I couldn't do it on my own. Even though I knew bank presidents and could call them and say, could you just please return the calls of your customers? I'm not asking you to do anything that you shouldn't do. These are your customers. Call them back so you can help them get money. But still, that wasn't enough, and I was working myself so hard that I couldn't do it by myself. So what I understood at this point is that I needed to collaborate. I needed to collaborate in order for me to do it. So collaboration is an interesting thing. Collaboration is like the first thing that we go to be inclusive, to be able to partner with others, to get things done, which is admirable, right? Collaboration. And so the first thing I did, partly because I needed some support myself, was I called the intermediaries in Detroit when I was working in Michigan to help and like just put our minds together to collaborate so we can help these nonprofits. First, get money, but then also just to be able to survive because they were really, it was crushing, particularly for those that were performance nonprofits that had people coming through their doors and could not see theater, and it was really horrible to see some of these. But with that, I called four of them my friends. They all happen to be Black women. That's just the way it was in terms of which people was running for leaders. One's Ethiopian, one is Native, and the other three Black women, including myself. And so we put our heads together. We were friends. We knew each other. And so we were ready to collaborate. But it was not easy, although we were even friends. What ended up happening is scarcity ran through all of our minds. I was the largest organization, like $7 million size. And the rest of them were like 2 million, 1 million, right? One's half a million. And that really represents the nonprofit sector, by the way. Just so you know, the nonprofit sector is mostly small and mid-sized. 92% of nonprofits have less than $1 million that they spend on their budget. And 88% have $500,000 or less. So we're talking about we are small and mighty in terms of the work that we do. And so this was really an exercise of under the guise of collaboration, but then also finding out that we all had to scarce and they were thinking that I wanted to take over the world. Because after all, I was able to achieve things and get results and all that. So they saw me as a friendly partner, but they also recognized that the foundations would talk to me and that I might be running things. That really stopped me in my tracks. We were absolutely right in terms of how the foundation saw me, but I had and we had an opportunity to reframe things and to speak truth to power collectively, right? In collaboration. But let's talk about collaboration for a minute. Here is the definition. Here Cluster says, collaborate, to work jointly with others or together, especially in an intellectual endeavor. While there are other examples other than intellectual endeavor, I think what's important here is the part about working jointly, but for an endeavor. So in this situation, I'm working with 4 other women, 5 of us collectively, and we're going to work towards helping nonprofits. That is a very interesting proposition in and of itself because what it is very finite, very focused, right? And so the challenge I actually have with collaboration is that it is this kind of time-bound thing. We're going to collaborate together. We're going to do this particular body of work, so we're really focused on it, and we're going to try to get results. Do you think that's enough? Why not? Well, we were talking about you all day long. People were saying collaborate. You all are a little fickle now because earlier you were saying collaborate. Now I'm challenging you and giving you to question it now. I want you to question. Is that really enough? So for me, initially it did seem like it was enough to be able to collaborate. It was actually doing something. We wanted to get this PPP money out, this Paycheck Protection Program money, and then also to be able to make sure that nonprofits were whole. But what ended up happening is we didn't recognize that a collective voice actually didn't mean that it was equitable, and we had to figure out how we would be able to adjust that. And I think what's most important is really this. I can give you this particular photo here because I want you to be able to see the women that I work with. This was a photo shoot, by the way. Someone donated this to us to do a photo shoot. This is all of us together here. But we're smiling and we look powerful and all that, but that was after a lot of trial and tribulation, a lot of fighting, a lot of trying to understand, who we are and what we can do together. But we finally got to this point, so there is a happy ending to this, but it didn't start up that way because we were so centered on collaboration that we really almost missed the opportunity. And after working together, all of us as a community, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, we were able to change the narrative not only for nonprofits, but also for us. One of the things that we were able to accomplish together because we recognized our differences and respected those, didn't want everyone to be the same but have one voice, was that we recognized that we could get funding from a funder who is now providing a rest and liberation fund for all nonprofits in the city of Detroit, for Black and Brown-led nonprofits to have rest and restoration because that's something that we needed for ourselves and we understood that. And it was bigger than us because we were trying to create a community and an understanding about what the needs are. And so we reshape the way we thought about collaboration focus. But I want you to consider this quote from David Spangler, which I think is really, really helpful. Is some people think they are in community. They think they're in community, but they're only in proximity. Only in proximity. True community requires commitment and openness. It is a willingness to extend yourself to encounter and to know the other. And that's one of the things that we haven't taken the time to do is to know each other. And so hopefully this community that NAWA has created through this conference, that you're starting to look beyond collaboration and look at community as being a way for you to actually build more. But that requires a lot more effort from you, but it's so worth it if you do that and you have that point of view. So let's just talk about what community is, which I think is the next step after collaboration. Community is sustainable. So it's looking at community as an organism, a living thing that needs to be nourished, right? It needs to be supported. So if you think that once you leave this room that has been creating a space for community, that all you have to do is be present here and walk out the door and the community is going to last, the answer is no. So you have to do more. This is like the starting point right now. This is an opportunity for you to be curious about one another and about to understand one another, and also to think about what the possibilities would be if you were to build community. It's comprehensive. It's open communication. It's accountability. It's all the things that if you have any relationship in your life, it takes a lot of work, but it's so worth it because that's when innovation actually occurs, when transformation occurs. So you can go from collaboration, which is highly transactional, a means to an end, or you can choose to be transformational and create community that requires a lot more. And I think we have been able to do that. Another quote, how many people like Audrey Lorde? Love Audrey Lorde. So she says a lot of things, but I think one thing that was super important that I wanted to share is what we must do is commit ourselves to some future that can include each other and to work toward that future with particular strengths for our individual identities. And in order for us to do this, we must allow each other our differences at the same time as we recognize our sameness. Like this, like drop the mic, right? Drop the mic on that. Because that's the key to it. One voice doesn't mean that we let go of the things that are differences. And it doesn't say that we ignore our sameness. It actually holds those two things together. It requires a commitment. Even in the title of this, we talked about collaboration, but before we said collaboration in the title slide, it said committed collaboration. So if collaboration was enough, we didn't have to modify it with committed, did we? Because it's not enough. I'm challenging you to think it's not enough. What it is that we need is community. And with community, we have to imagine, I think, a new reality, not just for ourselves, but also for those that we serve. And I think that, I believe that we can do that. And so one of the things that she says also too is about single issue, right? That we're not single issue people, so there's single issues. Okay? And so I think that's really, really important to understand. If I can give you these quotes, I think that they're actually words about this. But one of the things about community is that it really, really requires a lot. Building a community is that we must be curious about each other's work. How many people, with show of hands, actually met someone new here and learned about their work? Okay. So what's your next step? Have you created that for yourselves? You have a next step for that? And perhaps your next step is collaboration. And there's nothing wrong with collaboration, by the way. It's important. It's static, but it's important. And it is a step to community. But I do want you to know that if you can move beyond the proximity of just being next to someone in this room and having a conversation about what you've done, which is perfect, like he's moving in the right direction. Again, it kind of goes to the actual theme of this particular conference, which is moving boldly. It doesn't say move boldly. Did you notice that? It says moving boldly. So that means when you're in this room that what you've done here is not enough. Like you have to keep moving. Boldly, right? You got to keep moving boldly. Say that to yourself. Think about that because that's the only way that you can build community. And the nonprofit sector is uniquely positioned to be able to show the world about what it means to be able to do with something or impossible. And so that looks like being bold, but it also looks like dreaming big. And if your dreams are attainable, they are too small. They are way, way too small. So I encourage you to dream big. And I already know that in the sector that we work in, we do dream big. We do dream big, and I encourage you to do that. The challenge, though, with our sector is that we dream big and we think that we can do the work all by ourselves. And that's where we get burned out. And that's where we are not living in our genius and working within our power. And so I challenge you to think about this as a starting point as your community. It requires you to foster and nourish it. And so hopefully you took down emails and cell phone numbers, whatever the case may be in community, because it's going to take you calling. It's not going to be you waiting for that person to call you. This isn't a date. This is building community. And so I challenge you to think beyond what the normal trends are of making connections. You really try your best to be able to go deeper into that. And then also, one of the things that I noted with the five of us when we were working in Detroit is that we were able to come to one voice. And honestly, I think that's one of the opportunities for the sector as a whole. We would not be as invisible to folks if we actually had one voice talking about who we are and what we do. Yes, you can think of it as a campaign of sorts, but I also think it starts with how we talk about ourselves right now, who we are. And so if we can think about who we are and how we want to think about that, I think NAWA is in a wonderful position to be able to talk about how we can speak in one voice. And we know this through advocacy and public policy, utterly important, but this is really about perception. There's a perception that we don't exist until a disaster happens, and that's our narrative. When the pandemic happened, they knew all about us, right? If there is a flood, we're the nonprofit. It's always a disaster, and I think that is limiting to the sector if we're only framed in when something bad happens. Because there's so much good that's happening, and we don't talk about that. So how can we actually frame our narrative and be in one voice? And then the last thing I would say about community and how you can build community is to think about the individual skills. If you think that you can do even the work that you're good at by yourself, you miss everything that I've said today. We need each other. The good news, yes, go ahead and clap. We need each other. And there was a person here I know that made a comment earlier and said, I'm working so much. I feel like my self-care is productivity. That really stuck. Because I think a lot of us can relate to that when we're ready to admit it or not for ourselves. And so we need to be in community so we can lift that a person that needs us in that moment and say, now that is there's a different way. But that takes being more than proximity, it takes love, it takes knowing each other, it takes focus, it takes nourishing, it takes all of those things to build a community that's viable, recognizing when you're weak, someone who's strong. And I hope that that's what you're thinking about this moment in time that you have been graced. I think to have, privileged to have, to be in this space, and also the responsibility to put our you because you had this opportunity in this space, right? So lastly, if you think you're weak, too strong, not strong enough, if you think you can't do it, I don't think anybody in this room is talking to. But just in case you have that negative self-talk in your head that's going round and round and round, because oftentimes we do because the work that we do is very, very challenging. I do want to leave you with this quote, and it's one you've heard before, but I want to give voice to it because I think we need to hear this in this moment. And it's never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Right? Yes. It's my honor and my pleasure to have been in front of you for these last It seems like 5. You can tell me time. We do have some time. Want to ask these questions, or if you want to give me some insight or reflections that you might have, but I do appreciate that. I'm happy to thank you. I'm happy to do that. Anybody want to say anything, any reflections or any questions that you might have of me? I do know some things. I didn't talk about what I know. And yes.
You are amazing. Y'all give her a round.
Oh my God. I'll take that. Let me give you some. I'm working on a little bit of sleep. And let's see, it is 7 o'clock my time, and I need to go to bed by 8:30. But I get up at 4 because that's just the way my body operates.
That was so authentic and so amazing. So thank you. My question is, we have an organization here called WEIR. It's Washington Employers for Racial Equity. Right after George Floyd, they pulled together 80 of the top business organizations, and they said, we're going to do work kind of aligned with what you said, fostering inclusion, supporting Black business, supporting Black people with disparity. But again, it was popular right when George Floyd was in place. My question is, what would you recommend for this community of nonprofits to be a voice, exactly what you said, moving forward and actually taking action and not really allowing the for-profit community to not have accountability? So how do we create that space where we are being voice accountable?
Yeah, great question. So let me just say, there's so much I could say, but so little time, right? One of the things that when I in Michigan again, with a lot of my leadership experience, right after George Floyd was killed, I had a lot of my white friends that lead corporations so I had call me when they needed something. And I'm not gonna lie, I won't say the names, but they called me and said, hey, can you tell me where all the Black nonprofits are so I can give them money? And if I had one call, then I would have been like, oh, that was just that person. But I had lots of calls, right? And so when I started getting these calls, I had to really process that. I never said yes. I said I'll get back. So I had to process it because it was all the heaviness I was feeling too. So what I did was when I thought about it, I pushed back on that. I'm absolutely not getting anything like this. Because if I did, I was perpetuating the same thing that you were offering. I have a whole lot of Black friends that are leading. And so what I said to them is, what you need is, and we all need in the state of Michigan, is to understand who's leading nonprofits. So let's actually understand that. So if you want to do something, you can pay for research to find out leading nonprofits first. And so I got $400,000 to be able to find a survey on that. And invited people who wanted to participate on that and try to get to understand that. And then position really the city and the state to ultimately get $50 billion from our be able to go to small and mid-sized nonprofits and hold them accountable for that. Sometimes holding them accountable for what they've said is like one thing you can think about, but the other thing is exposing them for the why that they want to do that and having conversations. So those are conversations. I think there's sometimes the hard notes about things and put it out in in the public or shaming people. There's a tactic of doing that. I don't personally like to do that, but I know sometimes that is effective, right? I like to have those quiet conversations, either by phone, Zoom, or in person, to talk about what is it really that you're after, and here's a better way of doing that. And I think that's where the accountability is, I guess, on our part, is to be able to show them a different way. And 2, to understand really what they're after. And 3, be able to look at, is there a possible for that you should for nonprofits and private sector work together to be able to keep. Because the last thing that you want to do is to do something that's so temporal that it's going to cause harm to those communities, but they're not going to recognize that because generally speaking, their heart is not necessarily for the community itself. There are people that work there that care about the community, but the heart of the nonprofit sector has always been about what about this? This is always about harm. Even the conversation I had at there. We said, why don't we have one voice and stop and do the strike? Like, we're not doing anything. The nonprofit sector shuts down and see what happens, right? That sounds good, but then getting harm to the people that we're serving. And only we would have thought about that as a nonprofit sector because we would have thought of that's how we think, that's how we are, that's our team. And so it's really about thinking of ways to have a mutual understanding of what is needed and looking for opportunities to also include them as part of the community, which looks like collaboration at first, and then it brings them into the fold so they can actually change really and shift their thinking about how they approach it. So it wouldn't be demonizing and shaming them. You wanted this, you said you wanted to do this, you didn't do that, and that gets you nowhere in my experience. What it does is kind of unpacking that and looking for an alternative way to show how you can work together. So not exactly what you were asking in terms of how to hold them accountable. I don't think that is necessarily always a constructive way of getting the outcome that we're looking for because people get harmed from that. Okay, where's the afternoon people? Are you here? Okay, okay. Any other comments or insights? Okay, yes. Okay, I see you. Okay, I see you. Well, then, yeah, the benefit for everybody.
My name is Seattle. Also adulting in the 80s college. I just want to say thank you for sharing. My skin is still settling down from some of the stories that you shared. And I try not to cry, but I don't like there, but it resonated in only one sentence, which is I'm glad. So I just personally, especially that's
I appreciate that. Let me just say, I only recently started telling those stories, and that was after 2020 when I was holding those stories and it's making me sick. Right? It's making me sick. I'm healing from that. I was hearing all that, so I'm sharing because it helps me to heal. And I'm also told, as you said, similar comments that it's helping others too to heal. I carried a lot. There's unfortunately stories that are even more shocking. But those two actually reframed how I think about myself as a leader. And not that I don't care if people accept it, it's more about my divine purpose and living in that I care more about. You're so kind. Like your energy was really great. So I really appreciate you like being my line of sight.
Yes, I'm so glad you feel that. Yeah. All the love.
Yeah.
You mentioned how you during the pandemic you realized that the striving to prove yourself was no longer serving you. My question is, what did you replace that with?
Yeah. That's a really great. I'm still in the process of figuring that out. I think when I was a consultant and I was helping Black people in Kentucky, that actually was helping me. And then quite frankly, when I went back to work, I questioned why did I do that? Because I thought, I don't know, like maybe a regular paycheck is what I needed, right? Consulting is hard sometimes, and I've had I was feeling stress there. And I also, in my heart of hearts, aside from resources regularly coming in, it was more about the greater impact that I thought I could make at a national level. And I think I think I can do that. And so I think for me is making sure that I can leverage all this experience and both context and content that I've had and do something extremely big. Like I feel like my dreams are big and I've replaced it with dreaming, where before I didn't dream, I performed. And now I'm dreaming. So maybe that's what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is a question or
Oh, whoa.
I used to live in Tacoma years ago, and I got the opportunity to move to Kelso, Washington. And it's very white. And this weekend for the state has been very, oh, you're going to take a picture of it.
We can record it.
Maybe I need to move because seeing all diversity, it feels enriching to me, because I am in such a, we don't politically agree with people in my community, Time I vote, my vote doesn't matter anymore because I get outvoted by all the others. And you guys have inspired me. You have inspired me. Thank you. Thank you.
Leanna Olds, amazing Deputy Director for Partnerships here at NOAA, is going to make her way up and has a few closing remarks. But again, thank you so much, Donna. We are so glad to have you with us. Yep, that's probably on. Thank you all so much. I missed my cue. I'm sorry. Donna, thank you. I'm just standing back there and I was so wrapped up in just the moment and feeling like I was part of this community of nonprofits and just seeing all of these livened up faces who are doing amazing work in my state. And I forgot I had a job to do. So thank you all. Thank you so much for being here, to all of you. For those of you who are members, we so appreciate your membership and being part of this community. For those of you who are yet to be members, we look forward to you joining us and also joining this community. But no matter where you are part of an incredible coalition of people doing amazing work across the state. And our only real goal here was to make sure you felt like that. I hope you do. I hope all of these 3 days of learning, you are leaving here feeling ready to meet your nonprofits and ready to enrich your students. So I've got a couple of announcements to make before we let you all go. Number one, I just want to take a moment to thank the NAWA team. We are small but mighty, and it has been a job putting this all together. And I want to thank so much to all of the managers, coordinators, directors, our executive director, our incredible board who really pitched in and put this experiment of hybrid in-person working into reality. And for all of you for joining us, I especially want to call out Jennifer Chang, who has led the shift with everything she had in her and has made this possible. And her mom, Donna, who is the most insane, incredible volunteer I've ever heard. If you want to hear the most nonprofit thing in the world, I'm sorry, I'm going to get to the announcement. They were in their garage making these flower arrangements that they got from the farmer's market, which is the most nonprofit thing in the universe. But they did and got it all in place, and thank you, Donna. You're amazing. So we have some prize winners. Those of you who are on Hoover participating, a couple of prizes that we are going to give out right now. I don't know necessarily if y'all are in person, but I'm going to announce them anyway. Number one on our leaderboard, we have Red. And Red just won a membership to Washington Nonprofits. So thank you so much. We also then have Stephanie. Come on. I'm sorry, Stephanie. But we also have a gift for her, a tote bag, and Sydney Dutton, who also won a tote bag with some books from some of our speakers and a guide from our keynote. So we will make sure to get those prizes, and thank you all of you for participating and being on Hoover and engaging in that. Next, I also just want to take a moment. If you notice on your tables, there's a card. And that card has the schedule of the day. On the other side of that card is an ask. Because Nonprofit Association of Washington, if you didn't know, is a nonprofit. We're dedicated, all of our team, to making sure that we can provide learning and engagement opportunities across the state of Washington. And when I say committed, I mean it is what gives a lot of us our greatest joy. To go out to rural Washington, downtown Seattle, the islands, and meet with people and talk about how do we face the challenges that are facing our sector. I'm sure in all the sessions you heard about them today, whether it's not enough funding, substituted staffs, boards, I'll stop there. But whatever those challenges are, and to work with you to find solutions, to make missions happen. And we are only able to do that through the work of our great supporters. So if you are not become a member, we really encourage you to please join us to become a member to help further this work. And if you want to make a gift to the work of Washington Nonprofits because you're already a member and you want to be super awesome, please make a gift. The QR code will take you directly to the donation page, and it will not only be deeply appreciated, but it will immediately go towards helping perpetuate great missions in Washington State. So thank you so much. And the last thing, if you're a member, we have a happy hour for you because we want to tell you thank you for being fabulous. Maybe an incentive for you to rush to the membership table and get your membership. I don't know, maybe. But Seven Seas Brewery this evening, the food is on us, the drinks are on you. But it is, there are a couple of ways you can get there. There's a trolley that if you go right down the stairs to the first floor, there's a train that will take you all the way past the University of Washington, and you can get off there. There will probably be a group of us walking over there. It is walking distance. And you can enjoy a Seven Seas, which is actually, they have a whole list, they're delicious. And if you're not a member and you still want to go, come talk to us. We'll get you there. And then exhibitors are going to be here until 5. If you haven't had a chance to talk with one of them, please do. And also, we will allow people to continue to meet, network, and coaching sessions that are already scheduled. Can't get one now. We'll also be going till 5. So thank you all so much for joining us. It was a joy. It was a pleasure. And Donna's looking like I missed something. Yeah, I did probably. Yep. There was a couple of those. Yep. So I'm so sorry for the password contest, people. I forgot about you because I didn't have my phone. Maya Starbuck and Allison Hill, if you are here, we have prizes for you. Thank you for visiting every single exhibitor booth, both places. And Amanda Milholland? Yes, one person in person who I can actually give something physically to. We have a prize for you. Thank you so much for being with our board drawing. Also, thank you. If that's what Donna was trying to tell me, because you didn't know we were this nonprofit. Y'all can take the flowers. So if you want to talk, meet at your table. I think we had a system, but I'm throwing it out. You can figure whoever at your table wants them. Please take the flowers and the vase with you on home. So thank you all so much. Deeply appreciate you all, and you have a wonderful evening.
Now, was that amazing or what? I know, it was awesome. This is my first time even hearing about the Washington State Nonprofit Conference. It will not be our last. So my ask is that go support this organization. We had tons of great sessions. Lots of the content is online. So more to come. Was that amazing? Did you love that? Come on, y'all. More to come.